Mike Prelak here to entertain you with the help of, in honor of the Get Back thing everybody's talking about, the Beatles. We'll take it out, baby, now, take it out, baby, with the down, come on, baby, now, baby, come on and work it all out, work it all out. Get Back. I probably should pick a more updated, or a more towards the end of the Beatles' career. Something in the way she moves. All right, I just really wanted to talk about some stuff on here. But, this whole working for a living and trying to maintain a YouTube channel is really getting something. I don't know what, but I wanted to talk about eating disorders, and something that I've dealt with most of my life. I've been up and down my weight for the majority of my life. But I wanted to stress something that might help some people, something that I figured out only in the last decade or so of my life. But even after I figured it out, I still had to solve the equation, because that's what it seems like, a damn equation. But you can lose weight, and still not deal with the emotional part of an eating disorder, but it's only going to be short-lived. You can put the emotions on the back burner and lose weight, but it's only going to come back. I'm not a doctor, but the only thing I have to go on is the rather effective teacher of trial and error. When you have an eating disorder, you can have the knowledge of, the how and what and how much and how much and what do you eat, but you're not going to have permanent success with it until you deal with the emotional aspect. For example, something that I've recently, in the last couple of years, been trying to figure out, part of the equation is the whole how sleep comes into it. How much, how long, and sleeping in conjunction with what you eat, and, But the reality still remains, you have to deal with the emotional problem before you can even think about approaching the problem with any degree of practical application. This is something that dealing with your own emotional life first before you can lose weight. I have no experience in this directly, but I suspect that people who have a problem with nicotine or alcohol probably go through a similar thing. I've seen, in my lifetime, I've seen people who lose weight, but then they smoke like a chimney, or they lose weight, but then they're developing a dependency on alcohol. So it's not like they're dealing with the emotional part of their life. They're just substituting one bad habit for another, based on what I've seen from other people. I've never had a nicotine or alcohol problem personally, but my only monkey has been food. I think, sadly, part of this whole dealing with your emotional life, at least from my perspective, is it is necessary to eliminate, or at the very least extremely limit your involvement with certain people in your life. I put it this way: if time and effort spent on a person in your life is preventing you from doing those things you need to do for your own health and welfare, then sadly you need to, if not completely eliminate, you need to extremely limit your involvement with such people. The only exception to that, I would say, in my opinion, would be your children, but that's why you deal with your own emotional life, ideally, before you have them. A George Carlin joke comes to mind about, hey, there's a groups of people that make you wonder if maybe government sterilization problems or sterilization solutions aren't shouldn't be mandatory. Then I think of the jab. Ooh. Yeah, maybe. I don't really know, but I don't know. The Democrats' plan, I would say maybe that's part of their plan, but then no, they need slave voters. But no, they're getting them. They're getting them from overseas. But that's going to try to give non-citizens the right to vote. We'll see how that goes. Anyways, the point is you must deal with your own emotional life before you can be successful at anything. And to do it, you also must be content with the idea of being alone. You know, that's a second realization. You have to accept. You have to accept because you have to be peace with God or peace with yourself or non-believers. Peace is paramount. Especially true for us guys. I grew up as a self-proclaimed atheist, but I did pedestrialize the female of the species growing up. But in my opinion, modern extreme feminism has destroyed natural male-female relationship dynamics. So you have to be okay with the idea of just being on your own. I think most real men already do that anyways, so I think that's true for us guys. But the females, the ones who are not too bright and don't give their youth and fertility to one good, high-value man while they still have their youth and fertility, will hopefully still have their father to look after them, because females do not do well alone. Alright, what happened in the wonderful world of the circus news today, this week? Well, at least there was some good news this week. No court packing, despite the Democrats' best efforts. The CCP virus mutation is spreading among cruise passengers that all have the booster. Yet somehow they're still getting the new variant. Right, I wonder how that's happening. God. And Biden and Puddin' this week. I just say, Biden was peeing in his pants again, and Puddin' was just trying to hold back a chuckle. All right, I go on some lighter topics for discussion. The Melrose place, kaboom! I've been enjoying it a couple times every night before I go to sleep, because I fall asleep before the end of the episode, so I just start it over and get to see the kaboom part again the next night, because I keep falling asleep. But when you work for a living, that's just the way it goes. But I'm also still working on my second video series, my 7,777 CD collection, Sting and the Police. It's probably going to end up being in parts, because going forward, I don't want my videos to be too much longer than 15 minutes each. And there's a lot of ground to cover. I think I'm up to 30 CDs, just Sting and Police, for the tally for the number of CDs. But while doing research for the Sting and Police videos, I came across something that's going to lead me onto a rant that I want to get out of off my chest now, so I don't do it in the middle of the Sting video, Sting and Police. But the song Russians, I rather suspect that the reason why Sting is a third-ranking officer in the British Empire, a fact that I'll go more into detail when I make the Sting and Police video. But I think part of the reason was because he wrote that song, The Russians. I hope the Russians love their children too. Well, it got me thinking. I hope SJW and leftists and modern feminists love children too, because especially feminism. No group in the modern world has devalued human life more than feminism. They have a way of making it all about them too. Hear our righteous words and obey. I hope in my lifetime, I'm not going to hold my breath, but I hope in my lifetime some benevolent masculine force stamps out this toxic extreme feminism that is destroying civilization. Like I said, I ain't going to hold my breath on that, but that's my hope. I don't know anymore if there is a such thing as benevolent feminism, a benevolent femininity. This is what I always believed growing up as a child. As I said, I pedestrianized the female of the species. But I don't know anymore if there even is a such thing as benevolent femininity, if it even exists. You think about the modern world and all that has happened, they biatch all about toxic masculinity, but are so ready to yield to a totalitarianism government rule. That's why the concept of the sisterhood is so ridiculous to me. Makes no sense. Because they'll stab their, quote, bestie in the back if it means a chance at a life with a high-value male. All right, I'll end this one with a little bit of lighter touch and talk about... I watched an interview with the Melrose writer-directors, and they said, and I quote, their show, Melrose Place, will, quote, scare the gay out of anybody. And if you see the show, what the Matt character goes through, I would have to agree. Throughout the series, the first 3 seasons of the show, he is coerced into criminal acts of corruption by his, quote, friends. Some stage hate crimes upon him for their own selfish reasons. Some leave him convinced they're going to commit murder. Say goodbye to Sydney, Matt. Say goodbye to Sydney, Matt. That's one of my favorites. And as the writer-directors point out in the interview, all the men that he gets, the gay character, Matt, all the men he gets involved with lie to him, cheat on him, deceive him, frame him for number 86 crime. But worst of all, through all 3 seasons of the show, not one of his love interests ever kisses the boy. The closest one of them comes, the guy who framed him for murdering his wife. He fiddles with his tie, affectionately. That's the closest. But there's a reason for that. It's because it was a early to mid 90s network TV show, and the powers that be decided a TV audience just was not ready to see 2 grown men engaging in a little smoochy smooch session. And if I'm honest, if I saw such a thing on TV, back when I was a kid, I would have probably gone, ugh, gross, why are they showing that? Because I don't relate to that personally, but I don't. But I would say that even back then, as a kid watching this show, I would not have dwelled on it. A lot of people, because I guess a lot do and did back then, but I wouldn't have dwelled on it. I was like, oh, whatever, that's gross, get away, and I just move on. There's so much else in the show I like, anyways. I wouldn't have dwelled on it. But I'm not the smartest person, but I'm smart enough to know that only a benevolent, all-knowing, powerful being should be in charge of judgment with anything. But I will say that the Kaboom, not only in high definition, but in color, is awesome. Versus the black and white 13-inch TV that I saw it on when I was growing up. So, especially that one shot where the whole complex is ablaze. I'm like, damn, Kimberly, That biatch done tore that shiat up. It was a bad arse sequence. That's what I'm trying to say. But like I said, I keep falling asleep before the end of the episodes. But but it looks to me like the Dr. Peter Burns dude is going to help the Kimberly character, and I think, you know, that's the ultimate female fantasy. You know, go crazy, create all the chaos and destruction you want, and then have some guy come along and be smitten over you and pay all the bills. Art imitating life, imitating art, imitating life. That whole thing comes to mind. And it looks to me like Allison is going to try to earn sympathy points with Billy, not telling him her blindness is only temporary. Typical of the character. That's why I don't care for the Allison character. That'll do it for this one. I'll get to work on the Sting and Police. Mike Fairlight, thank you for your time.